Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa ala ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin al-ma'soomin al-mazloomin. Assalamu alaikum viewers, welcome to our fresh episode of Quran and Science. Today we will continue our discussion from the previous episode. That is, we had started our introduction of started our discussion about Einstein's theory of relativity. As we all know that Einstein made a breakthrough in time travel, whether it's possible to travel through time, to travel into future. And the reason he could not prove his theory, he was looking for a proof of his theory, and that when he looked around, when he browsed through spiritual sources, he found out that the mentions about Miraj and the mentions about the travel of the angels, the mention about the heaven and hell, and the various ayahs in Quran which he was guided through, they referred to his theory. And studying and asking the guidance and help through those regarding the exegesis and the interpretation of those ayahs, those verses in the Quran, which occur at various places, and a couple of which we discussed in our previous episodes, and we will examine those in a little more detail today in our in this episode, in our current episode. The proof that he found out, which could prove his theory, was that the angels are able to travel through the universe, but he looked for a proof if it was possible for a human being to travel through the universe. And that also, that proof led to the discussion, led to the probability, which now has been proven by later scientists like even Stephen Hawking and other contemporaries, that our universe is not exactly a universe anymore. It consists of multiverses. Multiverses is something, it's a term which which the Muslims have been speaking out and reading and praising the Almighty with reference to the multiverses. Yes. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. We praise the Almighty, we accept His might by referring Him to the Lord of all the worlds, of the multiverses, Rabbil Alameen, that He is the Rabb, the sustainer, the creator, the nourisher, the nurturer, and the Lord of the worlds, hence the multiverses. And the Almighty Himself called out His seal of prophets, called out His chief of prophets as the Rahmatul Alameen, that whoever, that wherever is my might, that if I am the Rabbil Alameen, that if I am the Rabb and the creator and the Lord and the sustainer of the worlds, you are the Rahmat for all those worlds. So the Almighty describes or defines His beloved prophet in the words, in these words. And the problem is not with those big, expansive and elaborate terms. The problem is with our own intelligence and intellect and our ability to comprehend the might and the expanse of His might. For example, we declare His might in another very set of very popular ayahs which are in our daily routine, which we recite on daily basis, several times a day even, the Ayatul Kursi. when we call out the Rabbil Alameen as the A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Allahu la ilaha illahul al-hayyul qayyum, la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm, that he doesn't subdue to sleep and to drowsiness. Lahu ma fis samawati ma fil ardi, man zal ladhi yashfa'u indahu illa bi'iznihi, ya'lamu ma bayna aydihim wa khalfahum wa la yuhituna bi shay'in min ilmihi. That his might, it encompasses everything. Illa bima sha wasi'a kursiyahu samawati wal ardi, that his kursi, that is his throne, is vaster, is bigger, it's much larger than anything comprehensible. Wasi'a kursiyahu samawati wal ardi, that these heavens and earth cannot encompass his throne, his might, his kursi. So the problem is with our own understanding, because our intellect is limited, our intelligence is limited, and despite this limited and substantial, this limited intellect and intelligence, we have not even tapped it to its complete, to its full. For example, Einstein, the greatest minds of the 20th century, he was known to the day like he's one of the geniuses. In fact, his name became synonymous to genius. After his death, when his brain was examined, and it was found out by the experts that Einstein, the genius, had used only 12% of his brains. So when the genius of his time used only 12% of his brain and reached to that level, which still stands or which still maintains a scale of intelligence, scale of genius. So it means that the other people, you and I, the laymen, who have not been scaled to that level yet, have not even used 12% of our intelligence. So this is the might, this is the might of the Alim. The Alim means the creator of all the ulum, the Almighty Rabbil Alameen. So to understand how our earth works and how much our earth is small and tiny as compared to the magnanimous universe, of course the Almighty has given signs throughout his book which were tapped and explored and which were found linked, and the proofs of whom were found in the Quran. And since this is the month of Ramadan, the month of the revelation of the Quran, and we are going to move forward our discussion into the Wama Adraka Ma Laylatul Qadr. What do you know what is Laylatul Qadr? So by trying to understand light, the speed of light and its relativity between space and time, the distance and time, we will try to get closer to the understanding of what Laylatul Qadr is. Because we are moving forward in the month of, during the month of Ramzan, we are moving forward to the Layal al-Mubarakah, to the Laylatul Qadr, that we are moving towards the nights of Qadr and the blessed nights towards the end of the Ramazan. So it will be interesting to try to understand what are those nights that Allah Almighty, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, asking His Prophet, who is the Madinatul Ilm, who has received the divine knowledge directly from the source, directly from the Alim. And that Alim is asking his Prophet, the Madinatul Ilm, that what do you know what Laylatul Qadr is? So let's try to bring ourselves a little closer towards understanding it. Time is relevant, as you all know. And according to Einstein, it helped us to understand that my clock and your clock will not run at the same rate. For example, the rate of our clocks It depends on the acceleration or on the gravity. Like for example, if my clock accelerates or is in a stronger gravitational field, then it will run slower than your clock. Meaning, for example, we measure time according to the earth, for example, the earth is spinning around its axis at a very high speed, but the speed is so fast, but like we do not feel the speed. We are moving according to the speed of the rotation of the earth and the revolution. But that speed is again causing day and night, and is causing the year, the changing of the years every 365 days. So we calculate time, we calculate our days and nights and our number of days in a calendar according to the movement and the motion of the earth around its axis and around as it orbits around the sun. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks to us and he calls out that we created the heavens and the earth in 6 days and fatigue did not touch us. So 6 days is not the earth's days. Those days are the days according to the throne. Because try to understand a little effort to try to understand those days. We can go back to the 2 ayahs that we referred to in our previous episode, that one from Surah Hajj, Surah number 22 verse 47, Surah Hajj verse 47. Then, and they urge you to hasten the punishment, but Allah will never fail in his promise. And indeed, a day with your Lord is like 1,000 years of those which you count. So this can be easily understood by that here the God promises those who do not believe in hell and punishment that each day of their torture in hell will measure 1,000 years on earth. So according to the Quran, time passes faster on earth than in paradise or in hell. But this agrees with the theory of general relativity of Einstein's, which says that the time passes slower near bigger masses. Meaning the larger the masses, the slower will the time pass. For example, Mercury, the year of Mercury consists of 88 days only. Earth, on the contrary, it's larger than Mercury and it's more away. So its time passes in 365 days. 1 year on Earth is 365 days. More reasons, because like it's more farther away from the sun, so orbit is larger and the size of the Earth is also larger. So the rotation, the speed of rotation is also greater, so it's slower. Both paradise and hell, they are supposed to be much larger in size, much larger in expanse as the planet Earth. So the time there will move slower than it moves on Earth. Meaning our day, as the ayat says, as the verse says, that a day with your Lord is like 1,000 years of those which you count. Meaning you count the days of the earth, on your earth. So a day in paradise or a day in the hell will be equal to 1,000 days on your earth. Meaning in this way the Almighty is describing the expanse or the size and the magnitude of the paradise and that of hell. That it is so expansive and it is so big that one day in hell will be equivalent to 1,000 days on earth. This is also, so this is one way. Then another, okay, then again we just mentioned about the earth being created in 6 days, and these 6 days again are not in relevance with either paradise or with hell, because these days they passed at the God's throne. But we have calculated that earth has been there around for 13.7 billion years. That has been there for 13.7 billion years. But we believe that the Almighty is not bound to his throne. Throne is not something that the Almighty is bound to. Throne is something which he uses to describe his might to us, that how much is his might, which is much larger than his throne, which is much larger than his kursi. The kursi is, it encompasses the entire universe, and we on earth are just a speck. So entire universe is under the expanse, it's within the expanse of his kursi. So the 6 days in which the heavens and the earth were created, they are still smaller than his kursi, meaning 6 days can be helped to understand by the age of the earth that has been estimated, that is 13.7 billion years. Okay, then our solar system has been calculated to be 4.57 billion years old. The Earth started accreting concurrently with the Sun and our neighboring planets 4.57 billion years ago. However, the universe is 13.7 million years ago. This places the age of the Earth at 1/3 the age of the universe. That is, the age of the universe has been calculated to 13.7 billion years ago. 13.7 billion years is the age of the earth, which the God Almighty says that which was created in 6 days. The Jews and the Christians believe that the God rested on the 7th day, hence the Sabbath. The Sabbath means that the Jews observe it as the day of resting, because according to their interpretation that God created the heavens and the earth, the universe, in 6 days, and he rested the 7 days. But according to the Quranic verses, the Almighty proclaims that we created the heavens and the earth, we created the samawati wal arz, the entire universe, in 6 days, and the fatigue did not touch us. Allahu la ilaha illahu al-hayyul qayyum. He is the Hayy and he is the Qayyum. La ta'khuzuhu sinatum wala nawm. He is not touched, he is not affected by sinatum wala nawm. Drowsiness or sleep does not affect him. He does not experience any drowsiness or sleep. So drowsiness or sleep is the result of fatigue. So the Almighty proclaims that the fatigue did not touch us. So he has nothing to do with getting tired, because once again, getting tired is something which is experienced by the passage of time. We feel tired as we pass our day working and going through, and each passage of the day makes our body age accordingly. We age a day. After every 24 hours, our bodies age one day, then another day. So our aging is a result of the fatigue. That is why our bodies are in need of rest and sleep, because fatigue touches us. Our bodies, they are worked out, they become tired and exhausted and in need of rest. That is why the Almighty proclaims that we have created night, the darkness of the night for you, and we maintain the night as a source of comfort for you, so you can find peace and comfort. And automatically, as the shadows darken, as the skies darken, as the night falls in, our bodies biologically start slowing down, winding down, and we feel drowsy and sleepy. So this is all according to the relativity of time again. So time again is understood, the speed of time was calculated, or the relevancy of time was calculated by the speed of light. Speed of light was, it went through a lot of calculation over the centuries, but finally the current calculations, which have been again an approximation, but they are considered to be the closest and the nearest or the most accurate so far calculation of the speed of light. It was done on October 21st, 1983, and it was calculated as 792,458 miles per second. So this is the standard value of for the speed of light. It means that when you travel 1/10 of the speed of light, time stops, meaning 1 millisecond, the 1/100th of the time, 1/10 at the speed of light, time stops. Meaning, for example, this is very nicely explained by the relativity, the Einstein explained it by time dilation, that the time dilates or the time stops. For example, it is explained by his twin paradox, that he maintained it, he explained it with the help of the example of twin brothers, the twin paradox, meaning they were twin brothers, both aged 17 years of age. One of them, he traveled through the universe, he traveled through the interstellar space, and he traveled at the speed of light, which is 299,792,458 miles per second. When he returned after completing one round of the interstellar space, it took 60 years on Earth. When he returned after 60 years, for him, he completed just one, that is per second. This round, the speed of light, when he returned after 1 second, he completed this whole distance at the speed of light in just 1 second. When he returned after 1 second, the time on the Earth which had elapsed was 60 years. He came back to find his twin brother, an old man of 77 years old. So this is what happens, like when we try to understand the quantum mechanics and the time travel, that it is possible that when Rasulullah came back from Miraj, and when he tried to explain that how much he had seen, and the people were figuring out that when Rasulullah went to Miraj, came back, first he went to Isra, first he went to Jerusalem, and he went to Jerusalem at the speed of 486 kilometers per I'm sorry, the distance between Mecca and Jerusalem is 486 kilometers. Now this was at the speed of light. It was the time it took was 97,536 kilometers per second, and the time it took was 0.01 second, that is 1/100th of a second. 1/100th of a second means like in a shorter time shorter than it takes us to blink our eye. So then he went to Miraj, he went up to the heavens, came back after touring everything, and when he came back, the latch of his door was still oscillating and his bed was still warm. And in some narrations it is said that, like, while going up, while taking a lift off, Rasulullah's clothing, they hit a bowl of water that was placed on the floor. It hit and it toppled the bowl of water, and when he returned, the water had still not completely dropped on the floor. It was still in the process of falling or pouring out. So the time it took Rasulullah to go all the way to Miraj and come back, it was shorter than the time it took for the water to spill out from the bowl. So all this is explained by very long, huge numbers. So how is it possible? So what is that light, or what is the frequency, or what is the velocity, or what is the magnitude of that light? That the light which was understood that to travel to a parallel universe, which Rasulullah did, he traveled on a buraq. That is what is said, that he traveled on buraq. Now what is buraq? Buraq is the plural of barq. Barq is the bolt of light, the thunderbolt of light. What we see on the sky is one example, that is the thunderbolt of lightning. The bolt of lightning is barq, and buraq is the energy that is produced, that is the energy required to travel to a parallel universe. It is also described, it is also termed as Planck energy. The Planck energy is like 1 to 2 billion joules. Now 1 to 2 billion joules is a huge amount of energy, because those who are students of physics would know that the light is measured in terms of joules. So how it is, the Einstein's time dilation theory, it states that the gravity and the speed, they slow down time, meaning the stronger the gravity, it will slow down your speed. Meaning, being on Earth, the gravitational pull of the Earth, it maintains, it holds the object down, and it slows down the speed of movement. Like the reason we are able to walk and stand at our own will is because of the gravity, because otherwise the Earth is spinning at a very high rate. Earth is spinning at 8,000 miles per hour. I'm sorry, per second. But we are not moving at that speed. We are not moving, or any other object placed on the Earth is not moving at the speed of the rotation of the Earth, because the size of the Earth and the gravitational force is holding us down. It is slowing us down. So because of the gravity, we are able to stand still, sit down, lie down, and to decide to move and to walk around at our own will, at our own speed, whichever we want. If you want to increase the speed, we run, or we sit in a car, or sit in a train, or we take up an airplane. The reason why our speed becomes faster in an airplane is because it goes higher upwards, defying gravity as much as possible to be able to move at a faster speed. The reason why an aircraft, it travels faster is because it goes 35,000 to 40,000 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, above sea level, and being able to defy gravity as much as possible, to be able to move faster than a train, faster than a car. So as we move more and more away from a source of gravity, we are able to move at a faster rate. I hope I'm keeping it as interesting as possible, because like another, in Surah Sajda, the other example that is given is that he arranges each matter from the heaven to the earth, then it will ascend to him in a day, the extent of which is 1,000 years of those which you count. Again, these are again the matters of the right and wrong, the heavens and the hell. Again, this describes the might of the heavens and the hell. That again, the Quran compares time on earth with the time at paradise, which is one day compares to 1,000 years. That this mention in Surah Ma'arij, verse number 4, it compares time on earth with time in wormholes. Wormholes, again, that one day versus time, one day on earth equals to time in 50,000 years. Now this is the speed of the angels, speed between the wormholes or speed through the black holes, that the speed at which a moving object, an angel, a bolt of light, or Rasul Akram, leaving one layer of the universe, or leaving one verse into entering into another dimension. The multiverses, this confirms the multiverse theory. We will come back to this discussion in more details with more elaborations, and starting connecting our current discussion with our discussion on wormholes and black holes, with the support of more verses and surahs in the Quran in our next episode. So with this, I will give you a few references. Like I mentioned, the Surah Sajda, Surah Hamim Sajda, verse 5, and Surah Hajj, verse 47. This with respect to our age on the earth, the way we age and our movement on the earth with respect to the relativity of time, to be understood. So with this, we'll take the leave for today, and we will continue this discussion in our next episode, in our next program, inshallah ta'ala. Until then, happy readings. Try to probe a little more into these magnificent verses of the Quran, because in Surah Rahman, the Almighty challenges the jinnoins, the humans and the genies, that if you can, if you want to, if you can, you are welcome to try out to leave the bounds of the earth, and come out and move out. And you cannot do that. You can and you cannot do that. Meaning, this is the Almighty explaining the gravity and the atmospheric forces which holds us down. If you want to, you can move out. See, get out of the gravitational force and move out if you can, but you cannot do so unless you use extreme or huge power. This again, the Almighty is referring to that you will need a very strong source of energy, a very strong power to be able to defy gravity and move out, or to pull off from the forces of gravity. So I welcome you to the world of physics and astrophysics that the Almighty is inviting us into. And a lot of surahs and the recommended verses and the surahs and the du'as during the Ramzan also actually invite us into this realm, because namaz is called the miraj of a moment. That when we go down in the sajda, namaz is miraj of the moment, and the best part of the namaz, which is considered to be the miraj, is the sujood, that when we bow down, that position is considered by the Almighty, by our Creator, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the epic, that is the apex of our ibadah, that while in sujood, our spirituality reaches the level which brings us closest to the Almighty. So that is the point when we reach the miraj. So again, a huge point to ponder. Until then, I take a leave. Take care of yourselves, take care of all around you. Keep us in your prayers. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.